So I know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So. You bet. Okay. All right, we'll call to order the April 6th board meeting. The first item on our agenda will be to approve the minutes from the March 2nd, 2022 meeting.
They're on mute.
Just for clarification, it's 100 and 112 Pine Road.
Oh, okay, this was, that's okay, that's good, that's just okay,
And if I might address one more thing.
yeah.
I finally got a hold of this surveyor. I will do this. It's exactly the same map as what you had, except that we moved the rear lot line back to make the proposed second lot as large as we can make it without interfering with the main lot. If I took it any further back, then the main lot is now becoming non-conforming to the entire lot. So we made the
So now your lot number 2 is a half an acre.
half acre, correct.
An increase from 2 to 3.
Correct, to a 0.5. Right.
Now, did you, and that was one thing that we come together with very quickly. Did you happen to see the letter from the county asking that we're to be required to provide evidence that each site has adequate septic systems for the proposed uses on each parcel prior to an approval?
I have one for 100 Pine Road, which was inspected back in November of 2021. And we found the tank in good order and no water seepage.
Your lot 1 now will be decreased by the difference between 363 and a half an acre.
Correct. I think he has it marked on 5. It'll be just over 5 acres.
So we want to note that on the drawing.
Yes, I'll have an official one for you. Sorry, this schedule, my schedule.
Did you see that from this section? For the one, for number 100?
Do you have any information on 112?
I can get it, the county would have record of where the septic is for the kennel itself, the house,
No, this is only one.
They did,
There's
so
only
112 wasn't pumped when 100.
correct.
Any history on it, on 112,
Um,
on the tank and leach field, and it's when it's been serviced?
So there's actually two of them. The one for the kennel itself, that was put in 93 and serviced routinely. I couldn't give you the last date of service, but I know it was after
So they're not particularly old, they're not ancient.
the house, yes. is
I mean, the tank and leach field.
Of the kennel, no, that's new. The newer 93. The house is ancient. And that one, I guess it's probably gonna have to be replaced at some point. There's no groundwater yet, but the last time the tank was pumped, he said it wasn't great.
I'm sorry, you're talking about 100?
No, 112.
Okay.
100, he certified it, he found it fine.
So, the county is, suggesting or requiring that, you provide evidence that each site has adequate septic systems.
I can certainly make that happen. I don't have it tonight.
Okay. And there were some comments from our engineer, Isabella, regarding the book showing the location of the existing Epads. And I'm not sure that I do see those on here.
I'm sorry.
The environmental protection overlay districts.
Oh, it would be something to see there, okay. It's not on the map?
No. I don't see that there is.
No, they could be overlaying that right over the drawing.
Oh, okay.
So just to clarify, it does say that we did copy Mr. Mayor on these. Do you know that he got those from our?
I believe he did.
Okay, just checking.
And a legal description for each lot. And list any covenants or deed restrictions. Do you want to address any of these? I don't know if you've seen this or if you are able to speak to these items right now.
No, I can't.
You can, okay. All right, so we're glad to see that lot 2 is now half an acre. And it meets with your variance. Do you have anything? So at this time, I'd like to open the public hearing to see if anybody has anything that they would like to comment on this subdivision. Okay, I think I will leave this this open though, because it looks like there's gonna be some more discussion once Mr. Coates has some time to look over this letter from Lavella and address the items that haven't been addressed yet. And also that you'll get the, you refer to the county's letter and you will get the septic system at 100.
112, check now.
Oh, 112.
Yep.
Checked out, okay.
Yep, I can do that.
So, okay, then I think this one is, I think we're good.
Just,
Oh, yeah.
I do have a couple of things. On the lot around the map that you just gave us, you increased lot 2 to 0.5 acres.
Correct.
But the acreage on lot 1 did not change from the map that was originally provided.
That's what I was looking at when she asked me.
So that should have decreased
Correct.
by the amount that you, I was just looking at this map you gave us.
The one you gave me, the first one that he sent me, I apologize, this is by email, but the first one he had at 5.1, and that's why I referred to it, but I see what you're saying, that it's not reduced and it needs to be.
Right. And also for lot 2 that's right now, you did note that that's 0.5 to the right of way line. It doesn't include the center line of the road. I just wanted to point that out to the board. And that's
Oh, I
something that,
Oh,
So it'd be slightly larger to the center line, is what you're saying.
right, but I think we prefer to see the 0.5 to the right of way, which is shown.
Okay.
Just wanted the board. And also, when you leave, I will give you a copy of this in case you didn't. get
Thank
it.
you, and I'll talk to Richard again.
Yes.
Get it all addressed.
Yeah, those were the only things I had.
okay. And Katrina, is it April 13th, if he has everything, he can be on the meeting for in May 17th?
For next available, if we get everything in by the 13th, if you could get us, I can put you on for May 18th.
Okay.
So it gives you about a week.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right, great. So we will see you back in a couple weeks.
All right.
All right,
Thank you.
that's great, thanks.
Make sure you also address the code enforcement officer. So I hope he has a copy of that.
Oh,
I thought his concern was on the subject.
Well, it's on septic and then talks about private well water supply. There you go.
Yeah, I talked to Corey about that, and so he wasn't assuming I could fix the wells already in, the septic's already in. The new septic, and that was a concern of his, would have to go,
Tell you what, you work it out with Corey, you have
Okay.
him write us or
Okay.
bring us something back instead of
very good.
work.
Thank you very much.
thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is the Altier, or is it Altieri?
Let's hear.
Welcome. And this is for a two-lot subdivision at 117 Chief Factory Road in Hammond Falls, consisting of 24.8 acres. What you got going on? Yeah.
Michael, that's with me. Like you said, it's a 2-lot subdivision, overall property is 24 acres and change. Rick wants to subdivide it into 2 parcels. And basically it ends up being a 10-acre parcel on the east and a 14-acre parcel on the west. If you look at the property, it has frontage both on Harloff and Cheese Factory. And it also has a stream border that runs north-south through the middle of the property, basically splits the property. With an existing town easement over that stream corridor. So kind of already, the property's already split. So Rick's looking to subdivide it into the 2 parcels. And that's really it. It's basically mostly farm fields currently. That's a lawn area near Cheese Factory, that fronts on Cheese Factory.
So, our ECD, our Environmental Conservation Board, took a look at this last evening. So I'm not sure if you were able to have an opportunity to see what their recommendations were, because this came this morning to us. So, one of the things that they were concerned about, the ECD is that they recommended that an easement be made for the 1117 Cheese Factory Road to allow access to lot 1A. And the reasoning for that is that it's covered by Epad 1, which is a wetland protection, and it makes access to that lot very limited. So that was their recommendation from the town amendments.
That's something we could look at. I do know the frontage on Cheese Factory is a little more limited than on Harlow. But basically, I think they're saying he's been built. It's a little limited, but from when we looked at it, I think you could, but if there is some EPOD area, it would make it a little tougher, but it's something you'd have to look at. It's something Rick would have to consider.
Okay. And then we also have a letter from Corey Gates, code enforcement officer. And have you had a chance to look at some of his recommendations also?
No, we haven't received any of the comments.
Okay.
Did you receive any from Monroe?
And you didn't, you're Michael, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, did you say yes or no you received?
No, we haven't done any of the comments.
Not even from Lavella, because you were copied on that one from Jason, but, okay. Mike, did you want to speak to
Sure.
some of the things
Yeah,
that,
there's only-
you guys were recommending, and I think it's kind of the same, it goes right hand in hand
Yeah.
with what Corey had.
We reviewed the plan, we really only had 4 comments.
Okay.
It's the minor note 6 refers to town board. This planning board, that's pretty easy. And then the Epads is the conservation board pointed out that they should be noted on the plan. And then that gives us an idea of the developable area. And then the last is the, and it's already been brought up, is the entrance to the proposed lot 1A. And if it's possible, what we would recommend is, it's our understanding that Mr. Altier owns that driveway directly across from Partridge Hollow.
Yeah.
And if you could, just give an easement from that lot to the new lot to access the parcel. Sure. And I think that, because there is that little site distance, and although it may meet the required site distance, I think that extra 50 or 100 feet would be beneficial to the future person who lives in that residence. So that was really it.
It was pretty simple, but.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Earl, do you have anything?
I have nothing, but
Any questions?
And my son, if you could have him put the Epads right over this.
Yeah, that's something.
Then you can kind of see what they're working with.
And again, if you can get that information to Katrina by next week, is that the 15th? You can be on the agenda for the May 18th meeting. And we can go forward.
And if not, then we're looking at June 1st would be our next one.
Would it be preliminary and final approval?
I think it's, unless something comes up and the distance pretty straightforward, so.
I think we can address these just from what we've done.
Okay.
And because this is a public hearing, I'd like to open up the meeting to the public, if anybody would like to. Would like to add?
Can you share a little bit more on the details of the ultimate plan for the property? What's its intended purpose and use?
I just need your name and.
Um,
I'm sorry,
My name is Anthony
Anthony.
Montone.
Okay.
So as it stands, this is just for a paper subdivision. There's no proposed development at this time, right?
Okay. So the 2 lots that are separated, there's a west side and an east side, correct? The side that is east would be closer to Harloff Road. Be 10.32 acres. Yes. Okay. And will or can that be subdivided at a future date?
I mean, you're asking a theoretical question, right? Right now, we're just handling a simple subdivision map. We're splitting one lot into 2.
Have deed restrictions been dealt with at all?
The town doesn't deal with deed restrictions, those are private contracts between private parties, it doesn't involve governmental oversight at this level.
What about restrictive covenants on properties?
Same thing. We're a land use board, we're just putting a line on the map.
Okay, so there is a restrictive covenant on that property. And that is a problem for subdivision.
Well, if there's a beneficiary of a restrictive covenant that wants to take action relative to that, that's their prerogative.
But the town has the right to subdivide the property when there's a restrictive covenant on the deed.
Again, the town only is dealing with a land use approval for something that gets through its zoning code relative to subdivision process. We don't assess deed restrictions and private covenants and all that stuff. If you look at it, it's all throughout the law. Land use boards don't deal with restrictive covenants.
Yeah. But do you have the right to allow a home to be built on a property when there's a restriction on that from a private deed?
There's no home proposed to be built here, so.
But the lot can't be subdivided according to that restriction. And you have a fiduciary duty to make sure that that law is followed. That's the purpose of the
A
deed.
restrictive covenant isn't a law.
No, it's not a law, but it's a covenant.
And I don't have any
It is
fiduciary
binding.
duty to a private contract between people who aren't my client.
All right.
Not to mention, I haven't seen any restrictive covenant.
I have
Not that it
here.
would be relevant, but
Well, it transfers with the property, it runs with the property from owner to owner. And it extends until November 21st of 2031.
okay.
So we're a little early yet.
So are you saying then that a
And
subdivision
I
would
did check
violate?
with the county clerk and the only.
Hold
way
on
to-
just a minute. Are you saying that this subdivision, a paper map subdivision, would violate that restrictive covenant?
I'm sorry, that's okay. I'm
So you're
sorry.
saying that a private, splitting one lot into two violates the restrictive covenant? You're
Yes,
saying?
yes, that's how it reads.
Does anybody else have anything that they would like to add to the conversation? This time, I think we'll close the public comment. Nope, I'm not closing, oh no, I'm gonna leave it open, right, yes, I'm leaving it open. Sorry, guys, I am leaving the public comment open because we haven't come to any conclusions here. And you will get, the Epads mapped on there and the other things that we discussed.
Correct.
And, like I said, if you get it to, Katrina, we can
Yeah,
get it for the next.
we'll look at all the stuff that we talked about here, right? And then get our response back to you guys,
Sounds good.
all right?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey, it's showtime. The next item on our agenda is Hillary Scott special use permit. This again is also a public hearing. And I would like to say that we did engage in conversation with this, in this last public comment, and normally we don't. Usually we just listen to what the public has to say, and then, you know, we can come back to it in the future, but usually we don't have an ongoing dialogue, just to be clear on that. So if anybody was here for public comment for you, I just wanted to let them know that that was a unique situation right there. So Hillary, so you did this last year and it was a raging success, and you want to do it again this year.
Bigger and better,
Bigger and better.
with more precautions.
Okay. Okay.
So the bigger and better, so last year when we started, I spoke with Ethan, the new owner of Crappy Dance, and he was like too new to kind of be involved. So it kind of stressed him out. So this year I went to him and I think he spoke with him about possibly even opening up that little area, ice cream, Crappy Dance, that they might actually also kind of piggyback on that event. And a whole, like, kind of do their food outdoors with tables so people can see more of the hamlet besides just, I just feel like the hamlet didn't understand what we were trying to do last year. Now that we did it, they do.
Right.
So I feel like more businesses are gonna be able to piggyback, which is really exciting. And so, let's see, there was a little confusion on the August date because I thought I had to move it to the 20th, but my original date, August 13th, I'd like to remain as the request.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. It's just hard with looking at all the other festivals around. I mean, we're blessed with so many festivals in
Okay.
this Tri-County area.
So you want to change that back to
To the 13th, yeah. So we have, for the June event, we have spoken with the Rotary, and we'd like to donate the wristband proceeds to the Memorial Park. And they're willing to man the parking area at Meadow Meadows. And then the parking area over at Pizza D's and Krabby Dance and Ice Cream Shop and all that will be manned by the store owners there, so that they can invite people in to see their shops and businesses. So I think that would be the only big difference, and then we're gonna start later. So we started at 2 o'clock last year because we wanted to include all of the musicians, because last year's was towards musicians from COVID, but we don't have to like honor as many, so we're just gonna start from 4 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. In terms,
I think it was last year, if I recall, it was, you had until 11 and the vendors had to exit the property no later than midnight. Is that, so not 11:30, 11?
oh, for the music to stop, yeah. We're not gonna have any vendors this year, that didn't really work out either. We sold some pizza slices for Salvatore's, which we'll still do. But we're really hoping people will go to like all the area restaurants more.
So you're not gonna have any food on site then?
We'll sell from our restaurants inside.
Okay.
And all the restaurants in town, so we'll
Are
have
gonna
like
be inside
the Cottage, 64, and the restaurants across the street, Main Street Cafe, Krabby Dance, Pizza D's. So hopefully everybody will have like balloons out and be more inviting this year, understanding. But we won't actually start the music until 4 this year.
Okay.
Other cool thing about the June ones, same day as the Honey Falls garage sale.
Oh, nice.
I know, so it's kind of like a come out to Honey Falls Men in Day. I feel
Right.
like there's so many fun things to do, and it really will be kind of fun to be on the same day as that big garage sale event.
I'm gonna ask, Don, the fact that she's, changing this a little bit from last year and she's expanding it, does that, affect anything that we've got going on here tonight?
Let's see, is it still at 1369 Pittsburgh Road, Minden Road?
Yes.
When you say expanding, what do you mean by
Well,
that?
she was, last year, it was behind the restaurant on, that Menin 64, her restaurant is behind there. So she is including now, again, you're including, across the street is a small, plaza area where there's a couple smaller restaurants and an ice cream place, and they are going to now be more involved.
Hopefully, I've invited them.
They've been
It's not part of
invited.
my actual proposal, but I'm hoping to bring more business to all of them.
Right.
We hope it would be, yeah.
Did you say 18th was the new date?
No, August 13th. June 18th has always been the date. We just struggled with the August date just because of dance, to be honest with you.
You're still, I mean, are you having, where is the event?
1369 Pittsburgh Menin Road. If you look at the diagram behind the restaurant, there's a huge parking area and a huge green space. So I think we've gone out with like a beer truck will be in a stage. There's plenty of area for people. We put the table kind of significantly in from the road, so there's room for emergency vehicles if needed. And then to the north of us, there's that parking lot at the circus building. And that also allows access for emergency vehicles if needed, as well as up on Assembly Drive, which will be blocked off.
This parking lot right here? Just looking at the map.
So, yeah, so if you go so you come in here, that's your check-in, that's the emergency availability parking. This whole area is our festival.
Yeah.
And we have all this space here, and then that's, you have emergency access here and here as well as here for anything that's needed.
Okay. So this is where it's happening.
Okay, so that doesn't make any, there's nothing there.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions
Yeah, I'm
regarding?
just assuming that you're going to have something in place for the safety of people crossing 64
Yes, we will be having volunteers from the Rotary for that. And then I also have paid security, which will be three people for the entire festival, retired state troopers. You have the letter from David Bass there. So we have their, just to make sure people are acting safe. Yeah. The Rotary funds will come from the actual Mendon Meadows, which there won't be any pedestrian crossing there. Because that's where the Rotary is gonna be, so that they get to charge for parking as a donation, the Wests have allowed that. So anybody parking up in Mendon Meadows will not be crossing 64. So 64 crossing would just be depending on what happens across the street with their.
Like right at Assembly Drive.
Yeah, so they'll be coming down Assembly Drive, which on Saturdays is pretty quiet, and there's sidewalks there.
So, the one thing Corey did point out was that he thought that it might be prudent, and Don can speak to this also, that the property owner also give a letter that the parking lot, that access to the parking lot would be,
Which one?
the grocery store.
Oh, he did send a letter. It should be
Who did?
Derek West.
He's not the property owner though.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I think his name was Angelo, like.
Gio Cardello.
That's it.
Say it again.
Gio Cardello.
Oh, who is this? Who's the other one?
Okay, Derek West, leases the grocery store.
Okay, so he has the authority, I think, as,
To do that,
Yeah.
so she doesn't need,
yeah, yep.
okay,
If
so,
he controls it and he has a lease, that's okay.
okay, then that's fine, so you don't even have to do that then.
And then I saw that you noticed that the insurance lapses, so as soon as I get my updated insurance, I send
And
my
totally,
through.
yep, totally understand
And then I
that.
won't apply for so I sent a copy of the liquor license from Mendon 64, but I won't apply for the special use until I get approval from the town. So that town letter will go to the state before, as I apply for the special use to serve alcohol in the parking lot. My current license allows me to serve at the bar, but I have to ask permission for the parking lot, and I won't do that without town approval. So
Okay.
once I get your approval, then I'll send you those updated licenses as well.
Okay. Anyone else? Anything that they would like to add or subtract from this? All right, so we do have a few conditions that we're looking at that possibly would need to be met before you would actually get the actual approval from the town, but we can approve you tonight based on the fact that these conditions will be met, okay? And it would be all required Department of Health approvals relative to food service that need to be acquired. Required liquor licensing, which we just discussed, the certificate of liability insurance, which we just addressed. Compliance with any COVID-19 requirements of any federal, state, or other agencies with jurisdiction. And that was like more of a big deal, I think, last summer than this year, but that would still be prudent. Written approval of emergency access plan by the fire marshal, and you did just get that tonight, right? Okay. And the hours of operation, you said we're going to be from 4 to 11.
And then everybody off premise by midnight.
Okay.
Nobody wants to deal with anybody after midnight anyway.
And then, the one thing I didn't see that you didn't submit, but, is also something that we would require would be a regular sound checks. You did that last year.
Yeah,
You had somebody doing the sound checks to make sure that the music, and the noise was in compliance with the code. And a statement from local emergency services providing that the area is adequately safe for the event. So that would be local emergency services. Would that be, done when you think of that? Is that, the sheriff's department or more local, like the fire department, or?
This says a statement from local fire and ambulance authorities.
Does that fall with Custer or?
Well, him and the men in volunteer ambulance. Yeah. And make sure that they put in there too, that the area is adequately, safe for the event. Proof of permission from the landowner. Which And an offer of traffic cones and signage to the neighboring businesses should they wish to prohibit parking.
Yeah, which we did that last year too.
And that worked out fine, right? Yep. And so now it's time to open the public hearing for Mrs. Stott's special use permit for June 18th and for August 13th, 2022. Is there anyone that would like to comment from the public?
Hello,
Hello,
my name is Tim Sheehan.
hi Tim.
I represent 1350 Pittsford Menon Road, which is Menon Village Commons.
1350?
1350 Pittsford Menon Road, Menon, New York, 14506.
Got that, Katrina? Okay.
First, let me say that last year's event was enjoyable. It brought in some nice crowds. I look forward to seeing the event this year. That is wonderful. I'm not here with anything negative to say about the proposed event. I do have some questions. Special use permit, is this a one-time use permit? Is this a conditional use permit? Is this a permit that will allow events in the future without Ms. Scott returning for permission for the next event?
It's only for these specific dates of June 18th and August 13th of this year.
Thank you. The second question I have was, the wording in the agenda says entertainment. Is entertainment just entertainment, or does it continue other things like food trucks? Or other outside vendors in business
It's the event.
beyond entertainment?
It's the event that she's proposed to us here tonight.
And the follow-up to that question is, for a long time, and in years past, we have had festivals. We've had the Arts Festival. We've had the Minnesota Station Festival. I've been interacting with all of those. We make it very clear during those festivals that we don't want outside competition to our own restaurateurs and our own businesses. So I think the invitation extended to food trucks is a really rotten idea, and it undermines the businesses and those people who own and operate food establishments in our community, whether it's the hamlet, the town, or the village. So that's one thing I want to be sure that I'm clear on tonight.
I guess.
Okay, so I didn't have any food trucks there. We had Main Street Cafe in August because they weren't brick and mortar yet. So that was their introduction to the community. And the only truck I had outside of the beer truck was Mighty Tea Boba. Boba tea, which we don't have in Mendon or Honey Falls. So I just thought for the kids that would be fun. But Salvatore's is a Honey Falls business and they were one of our sponsors. So we sold slices there. But we did not invite any food trucks to either one of them and we won't.
And not to this one either.
No. The whole purpose was for people to use, when you check in, we have QR codes for every restaurant and all of our restaurants last year were invited with the QR codes, not all of them gave those, so that people could order from their phone and have the food delivered into the festival. So people could actually order from, so that way the restaurants don't have to set up an extra expense. It's very hard across the street, because I've done it at the cottage, to go to the arts festival, set up a whole booth, and to your point, across the street from some food truck. Now I've doubled my work, doubled my labor, we don't have it. So instead, I want people to have their QR codes out or their phones, people can call and let these restaurants drop food into the festival so that the food comes to them instead of having a food truck. But that's my answer to that, so that everyone, but not everyone has the staff to do it, but everyone's always invited.
Okay.
And then on the table, each menu with each code, right when you check in, so people can come up to the table anytime and see what they want to eat.
Okay,
Easy peasy, yeah,
all right.
hope that.
Well, I think that's great.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to make you go into such detail.
No, but I want you guys to know what my goal is as well, because I think hopefully it'll.
Well, and my purpose here tonight is, I represent the property, I'm the managing member and owner of the property, and I'm the guy that's gonna look out for my tenants. And let's face it, over the past couple of years, everybody in this community has struggled. The business climate in this state is toxic. My business, which is not in this town, has lost 60% revenues from 2019. It's very challenging for business owners. So the purpose of my being here is to gain information, to find out the details and share this with my tenants and support Hillary. I'm all for the festival. I'm not here as a stick in the mud. I'm here to give information and to make sure that we're encouraging businesses in this community to flourish. So that's all the
Okay,
questions
that's
I have.
great, thank
Thank
you, thanks. Anyone else like to make any, public comment? Okay, I think at this time, we can actually close this public hearing. And, I guess if there are any other concerns or questions? Anyone? Nope. You wanna-
Close the public hearing. Move to close the public hearing.
Okay, thanks. And you second it? Okay, so Earl moved to close it and Charlie seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any against? Any abstain? Nope, we're all good. Okay. So now do we'll need to, make a motion?
You want to do the next time you come up?
No,
I
she
was
wants,
hoping for it today because I really need to send to the state for the liquor license.
Yes.
So that's my issue of timing.
so we were going, the thought was that we could have, right, done correctly. The thought was we could, approve her tonight based on, some of the conditions that we spoke to
Yeah, the
her
condition
about.
we just talked about.
And then, once she meets all of those, we'll be able to issue her permit. And she
So I'll get like a letter of approval to send to the liquor authority and
Is
then
it
they
within
will
the-
So you'll get a letter saying you're approved by the conditions, and then the conditions will be there. So when I get all the information, I can even scan it and email it to you tomorrow, and then I'll send a hard copy in the mail. So we can-
So, does anybody want to make a motion that we approve the special use permit for stock?
So move.
So moved.
With conditions, right?
With conditions, yes, with conditions. The ones that we discussed and we do have them spelled out here, right, Don? So she can have a copy of that also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I second.
And you second it, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstain? I think we're good. Yay, congratulations again.
Yeah.
Is that in what you didn't know?
Yeah. I sent it in dates.
Yeah.
Yes,
The dates, I sent it in the dates.
the dates. Okay, I'll just give her just for the condition part of it. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Hillary.
Yeah.
From 4 to 11.
Yeah.
This is conditions of the Okay, so the next item on our agenda is the Green subdivision. This is their second appearance. At this time, we do not have a public hearing scheduled for them. But any comments can be brought up in the general public comment at the end of our meeting. So, hi.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right.
Once again, Rich T from Northland Engineering and Jerry Watkins from Reading Acquisitions. So we went and visited the town board. They reaffirmed seeker and passed a resolution back to this board to move along with the PUD process, which I believe our next step is going to be approving the overall. We aren't expecting that approval tonight, but we are here to discuss some changes from some of the comments that we've gotten so far. We're still working through some comments, but some a little bit big changes that we'd like to show you. Get your feedback so that when we come back next time with the next round of revisions, we hopefully addressed everything and can keep the whole process moving on. So our biggest change is out front. So we got a comment from New York State DOT that although they agreed with our site distances and that they met their requirements, their preference was to move the driveway as far south as they could to increase the site distance more. So we have made an adjustment and actually put the entry back where the original one was, which is about as far south as we can get. We got a little bit much here, but this is really about as far as we can go. Curl this back up around when we get back to our lots everything is pretty much the same as far as laterals. We also had comments about the drainage, how the drainage was going to their right of way and more control of that. So we have moved the gutters back to station 2+00. We've increased the road length about 30 feet with the curves that we put in. So we've also extended our storm sewer out to pick up more of the flow coming from the high point in the road. And then transitioning to shoulder road, in the town detail, and ditches on both sides and a culvert under our roadway to meet with their requirements for the drainage. We're also working on addressing some Pittsburgh tenants. I believe you've probably gotten a letter from Marshal. We're working through some of their comments, some of them are a little more technical in nature, but we're looking at reducing the drainage flows going to the north even more than what we had. One other thing that we would like to start a discussion on with this board is, as we're proposing right now, still haven't affirmed it, donating this land to an entity protected in perpetuity, rather than burdening that entity with maintenance of the stormwater facility that will be on their lands. We would like the town to perform the maintenance on it, understanding that that costs money. A way that we can ensure the town gets paid for doing that. and setting up
Maintenance on what?
the stormwater management facility. Would be to set up a drainage district that performs charges via the taxes to the lots in here for the town to get reimbursed for the maintenance that they would perform. I think that's a viable solution. I think that works all around. But understand that that would be an action the town board would have to take to accept something like that. So we would like to have a discussion with this board, and if they find it meaningful, perhaps a recommendation to the town board to move in that direction.
And would there be a reason, what would be the reason for not setting up an HOA to maintain that?
There's a lot of overhead and burden for that one little piece of thing. And although everybody believes that HOAs live in perpetuity, there is a process for them to disband themselves.
Right.
So this would also kind of help guarantee the maintenance of this important thing that fits in our infrastructure of the DEC. Other than that, I don't have a lot of other changes. As I noted, we're working through some technical changes with the drainage to tweak a little bit and make it all work a little better and some of the returns. At this point, I'd like to open it up to the board if you have any questions, comments.
You know, nobody really, we haven't really, this was the first that everyone was provided the plans, so nobody's, your updated plan, so nobody's actually had an opportunity to actually look at them. We did receive the letter from the town of Pittsburgh that they had sent to you, so.
And you should also have the 2 comment letters we got from New York State DOT.
Yes, I did see those two regarding the utilities and the entrance way.
And this one was probably the biggest one. The
Right.
others were really a little more minor and technical in nature.
Mike, I know, like Ed keeps telling you, I know this isn't totally in your wheelhouse right now, but do you have anything, any comments that you'd like to make or add to the discussion at this time?
I mean, everything they presented appears to be heading in the right direction. Take us some time to digest the DOT comments and their responses, and, you know, moving forward. As far as the drainage district, I've seen that technique used in other communities effectively, but it would be a decision by the town board, likely with consultation from the highway department on their willingness to form the district and do the maintenance. So, and that does take the burden off of others within the community, so the beneficiaries and the people paying district, special district tax would only be those within the proposed subdivision. Just for clarity on that.
What compensation of the town of Mendon looks like.
The way drainage works is that the drainage district is supposed to collect taxes from those 32 houses to pay for the drainage pond. It's supposed to cover it's supposed to be net,
Maintenance?
it's supposed to be net neutral to the town.
Okay.
I mean, theoretically, ideally, that's the way it would work. Just like, sewers, you're supposed to pay in enough to cover the cost of sewers. In the same way, this drainage district should be, you should have a budget for it. These people will be taxed for the cost of that budget to maintain it over time.
Yeah, so the district defines what the costs are for the maintenance, creates the budget, that budget gets divided up into the tax parcels, you know, to pay for it. Which I believe that budget can also include administration fees for administering the district, as well as the actual maintenance itself.
So on manhole 8,
That makes sense.
the drainage inlets on to into that on the catch basin should be moved further to the east. Flow is going this way, okay? You're coming back this way. You have a new road here again. These here should be down here, just to, and also to keep them away from this overdig on this thing.
Okay.
Up.
We can do that for the adjustments in the road to get the low point shipped.
So I have a few things I want to put out there. Make sure they're. One thing I recommend happening is to have, make sure that the engineers, now that we have a third entity involved in Pittsburgh, just making sure that the applicant's engineer in Pittsburgh and then of course the engineer all sort of coordinating with each other. Usually it's just one back and forth. So I just don't want to see that go sideways. So
we'll be pattern meeting with the Pittsburgh engineer. We've got to put some more documents together for them. And then get them around so that they can be involved.
There's a note somewhere in the engineering comments about. We don't need to go into this in detail tonight. Or coordination. Not sure what the plan is.
My guy is going to be out this week reflagging so you can do the report.
So is that gonna be? I asked now because I know how long. Next week's pretty good to get that moving. I'll put it.
So the guy I use has a really good relationship with the court, and a lot of people in the court. There have been some that they've been able to do remotely via aerial photography.
So you're hoping to be.
Hopefully it'll be a quick turnaround on jurisdictional determination. I have never had one of his jurisdictional determinations modified.
Okay, so it's pretty good.
After he's flagged it, so once he reaffirms the flags and we get that in our file, I feel very comfortable with what that is.
Okay. I believe there's a note somewhere about delineating the Epads on the maps. That should be done if it's not done already. There is, on I think one of the pages of the package, there's notes about covenants and restrictions. I'm not sure how you plan to have those effectuated if you're not having the HOA. Whether you're doing deed restrictions or, I'm not sure what the plan is there.
We do deed restrictions on them.
Right on the deeds, okay. The idea of turning this over to, turning the green space over to another entity. The town understand the timing on that and what that's gonna look like, when it's gonna happen.
Okay.
Since, we're trying to consider what, how this is gonna get approved. So that is another kind of moving target we need to lock out a little bit.
So, and I would envision if that target is down the road from when we want to start construction, that a conservation easement would be granted to the town prior to that, so that we can move the project forward. Well, that process, sometimes that process,
Yeah, well, so in the meantime, then would you retain the land?
in that scenario, yes.
Yeah, okay, all right. So you would retain it and then we spell out that you have the authority to deed that over to a trust or something.
We've had conversations and we'll have some more conversations in the next few days to try to solidify.
Yeah, how far down the road we can get with that in advance would be helpful to us. The drainage districting, it would be interesting to hear what the board has to say about that. I would also probably recommend, again, that's good, you already know it's gonna be a town board decision if they want to go that route, so whatever we need to do to get that moving along. Maybe, I'm not sure if the board's ready to discuss that tonight here, what their thoughts are on a drainage district. But at some point perhaps we can. We do have to do a waiver, if this is moving forward as plotted, such that the 1,000-foot maximum for the, I think it's the road distance that's over there, right?
That's the distance from Kingfield to our road. which,
Right,
As noted in the last meeting we had here, is not able to be met. even
Right.
With our frontage.
so and that's for, is that for site distance purposes?
No,
No,
it's just
I
for
think-
conflicts of turning movements is what the main premise is.
Do you have any traffic reporting or any kind of documentation to show us why that would be not an issue? If you don't, perhaps you could provide us with something.
Okay, no, we do not have specifically have anything for that. On a New York State DOT road, we really rely on their direction and guidance in that regard.
Oh, okay, right, and they did provide some comments, they talked about
They,
it.
they provided some comments and have not asked for anything in regards to that. If that was a concern of theirs, we would have heard that.
So
I think that-
it was my, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I thought that the length of the actual road into the subdivision here shouldn't it be more than 1,000 feet? And if it was, that they were going to need review from the
That was
town.
another waiver also.
Okay, all right, so we're talking about two different things.
Gotcha.
Okay, all right.
I don't know if you had to setback. I mean, the side setback.
Which one is that?
Side setbacks.
Is there variance to be needed?
That we won't be able to see. Side setback variances and some developments. The applicant has come in and they want to do a ranch, for instance. And because your side setbacks currently, I believe, are 7.5 feet. That we want to make sure one of the conditions is that, and I would look to council for that, is that the town would not entertain any side setback variances. Does that make sense, Jerry?
Yeah, that's fine.
So if we did that, we'd probably have to need deed restrictions, because I guess we could condition it. I don't, yeah, we'll think about that.
Yeah, but we had that instance come up in another.
Yeah.
community. We want to avoid that if possible.
Maybe you could deed restrict the sort of buildable area of the lots that they can't be closer to the side than X feet or something like that. Those are kind of the things that stick out to me. Seem to all be workable, no terribly norm, but things that still need to be addressed on this.
I also know that Corey Gates also had some written comments.
From prior.
Yeah, just so ultimately, we'd like to see those addressed.
Okay.
Are you still entertaining the walkway,
The path,
the path?
yes, so. That's the red line
You're gonna put that in, part of your development?
We're working with the group that we're talking to about, that would take ownership of the conservation easement. Get their guidance, because they would ultimately own that property and figure out the walking paths.
Then they're gonna maintain it.
Yes,
So that's just kind of an, is that there today?
that's just a for instance, right?
Okay, gotcha.
There are some existing paths there that we have utilized for part of this, but
Okay.
So you are then giving up the ownership of that property.
yes.
Do you envision that being something that's accessible by the general public, that walking path?
It would be.
And then they would get in between those two houses and how they would access it?
Yes, and if Mendon Foundation happens to take this, they have paths down on here that they would probably want to interconnect from that way also.
But obviously, it wouldn't be great if you had people riding there and parking on the side of the subdivision road.
No, we won't be going through that. The idea is people walkable to get to that area between the two lots are fine, but
Yeah.
you control no parking on the roads, there's no place for a car to park there. And the main entry would be Mendon Foundation, which has parking on their property to our adjacent south and southeast.
Okay. And have you talked to them initially about any of this yet, or?
Yes.
So I don't know, I know, we were gonna talk about the, wastewater management. I don't know, not tonight, because I don't know anything about that, I'd have to do some.
No, I think that's really a Pittsburgh issue. And you
The,
mean the sewer?
the pond,
Oh,
the
stormwater.
stormwater, I'm sorry, I
Yep.
misspoke.
Drainage, yes.
Okay, girl.
No.
So I don't really know that much about something like that. I don't know what it entails for the town. Actually, the town, what they have to do to actually have a district like that, what it means to them
We
as far
understand
as
there's
work.
pieces that would go into this, that, so we're starting the conversation, there's more pieces that need to
Right,
work. So we would build a pond according to the specs approved by LaBelle, of course. And we'd be maintaining it until we're finished here. There would be a stormwater area there, no different than the people here that are gonna live here, they're gonna be paying on their county tax bill, there'll be a line item for sanitary sewer, that money goes to the town of Pittsburgh because they're maintaining sanitary.
okay,
Here, there'd be another line item, storm drainage district, those people would once again be paying for that.
right,
What we would ask is for Labella to come up with a budget, and that would be what, divided by 30, what these people would be
Okay.
paying.
that makes sense.
And pretty much.
I didn't know who was gonna be administrating the funds for that.
Yeah, the town would, but pretty much, the pond, over time, over several years, it might get silt there to need to be cleaned out. Other than that, it's pretty much just.
It's just,
do.
yeah.
Just check out periodic inspections and making sure that.
Would you be including that in your storm maintenance pond? The
Including.
pond, at the entranceway, the water's into the pond?
We would include an easement to get from the road to the pond.
Right.
Yes, that would be the district.
But as you guarantee the infrastructure that you do, storm and others, would you include the pond infrastructure in your storm maintenance bond for 2 years?
I
Yeah.
believe that we gotta do that anyway, right? Mike?
Yeah, that's, yes, Earl, you're correct.
Okay.
In other words, when we do the 2-year maintenance bond, the stormwater management facility would be included. And typically, we want to make sure that there's a certain percentages of the lots that are built before we start that 2 years.
Okay.
So, okay?
Does anyone know if there's any other drainage districts in town as it is?
I believe there is.
Oh, no, I thought Corey told me today that there was,
There
that we
was
don't
no
have, that we don't
districts?
have any in Mendon. that
I would look to
would be
Earl
there.
for that. He has more
What do you
history than
know?
any of us.
You know,
Say that again, I didn't catch it all.
do we have any other, drainage districts in, the town of Mendon.
Okay.
And Corey said today that he didn't think
I don't
that,
think so.
he said no, that there weren't any, so this would be a
It was
first.
put on the lot, the last lot of the subdivision, that that owner was supposed to maintain. However, the owner never knew that.
Yeah,
Until they,
that is not a great option, in my opinion.
No.
So, but again, in my opinion only, the district is a good way to go. It assesses the folks that are beneficial to it. And I can certainly, let this board have more discussion, but I can also speak with the town board and,
Are there guidelines as to when that maintenance should be performed on a yearly basis or?
no, it's really, it's up to typically the highway superintendent and or the code enforcement officer to just, you might want to do an annual inspection just to make sure it's functioning. It may not need maintenance every 5+ years.
Generally speaking, annually, it's an inspection.
An inspection.
You have a big storm event, you go down and make sure you have the control structure.
Yeah.
The inspection may identify things that need to be done that then you work into the next year's budget.
some things to think about, yeah.
Yeah, some more things to think about, but, glad to see that this looks like it's moving forward and everybody is,
I don't know, quickly, 16 years.
yeah, right, 16, 17, Well, maybe we can get this done in 16 or 17 weeks, that would be even better, right?
No, it would.
So, okay, so was there anything else that you'd like to add to this? I mean,
That's
you know,
all I
really,
have.
oh, Charlie, you have something you wanted to say?
For me, at least, it would be helpful if you could provide a map that overlays the Epads
Okay,
as opposed to on a separate page,
okay,
because it's difficult to ascertain their effect on the big picture here. For example, it looks to me like,
and I didn't put that together for this because I thought we kind of had gone through that last meeting, but that's something I can do. It might be multiples because when you get all the EPOD lines together, it's a mess, to be honest. And it's hard to discern some of them. I can work on that for the next meeting for you.
and for example, EPOD number 7, as it relates to a limit of disturbance, it looks like it's encroaching a little bit, and that concerns me because of the proximity of Mill Creek. Mill Creek is kind of a big deal.
And remind me which EPOD is EPOD 7?
7.
Woodlot.
That's the wood lot.
But if there's gonna be clearing going on there,
This says here, I just wanna, this says the proposed development is not affecting trees. It says based on historic aerial imagery, the portion of EPOD 7 to the west of the creek was clear over 25 years ago, and the EPOD map is not accurate. This is from, so our environmental conservation did take a look at this. I don't know if this was distributed to you, it was, if it wasn't, it should have been. But they concluded that the proposed development does avoid the EPODs on the property. And they looked at all these EPODs, so. Did you get this? Do you know? Maybe, I'm not sure. What's your email? I'll send it to you. You can tell me. But yeah, they've done this, they've gone through the exercise, and certainly we are able to do it ourselves and to ensure that it's accurate, but just so you have the benefit of that, that'd be helpful. So I think it would be good to see the overlay the EPODs.
okay.
Anything else at all? No, we don't have to do anything, right? Because we're not done. We can, if you're done, and you're done now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to open this meeting for public comment. I'll say the same thing that I said to everybody else, but nobody Tonight, nobody listened anyway, but, we'll try to limit your comments and limit them to comments and not a lot of questions, because sometimes it's hard to go back and forth and answer the questions, but, as the precedent has been set for this evening, if anyone would like to speak, please feel free. Would you like to come forward and speak?
No, can I just speak from
You
back?
can speak from back there, yeah.
I'm Alan Rookie. I live here in Honeywood Falls at 103 East Street. My mom, who was here last time, is Jody McCarthy. She lives on the property right next to where they want to build, and her address is in Pittsburgh. It's 830 Mendon Road. I just want to say to the planning board that as both a former, I grew up in Pittsburgh and is now a resident of Mendon, I would hope that you would look at what Mendon looks like and what Pittsburgh looks like and what we don't want Mendon to look like when looking at the planning of this and how we don't want to have. I know that this is gonna go forward, but I hope that maybe some changes can be made in the number of houses or the size of the lots. That's the thing I have an issue with. I live here in the village and my lot is a third of an acre, which is basically what these are gonna be. And for living out in the country, in the more rural part of Mendon, to have such small lots with, fairly decent sized houses on them, I feel doesn't really fit the character of Mendon. Also, my mom would like to invite everyone from the Mendon Planning Board out to her property so you can see what it looks like from where she is, so how wet it is in the back.
She already invited John Moffett to come out, so John said he was gonna go out, and I don't know if anyone else was from the town board.
But she has a golf cart and she would love to take you around and show you, what has happened. I mean, since we've lived there, since she's lived there, they've developed Hedgewood and Crestwood behind. And this would just be another development that would create kind of her as a peninsula with 6 acres. And I mean, she doesn't want it to be done at all, but if it's gonna be done, she wants it to be done in a responsible way that, is not based solely on profitability for the developer, but for what is right for Mendon and what looks good for them. Thank you. Also, I wondered if we could get the plans, copies of the plans that they've submitted. I think we went to the town thing one time and they couldn't make copies other than regular.
Yeah, we can't make copies. That's why we, you're welcome to look at them or take pictures with the phone. We don't have the capabilities to do it. Our copier, I can't even, I've tried to zoom in as much as I can, just even on one tax, trying to get that for something else. And we just don't have that capability, unfortunately. I'm sorry. We looked at the printer. It's very exciting.
Anybody else have any comment that they would like to
I have
make?
one question.
No questions.
What other area in Mendon is zoned this way? What is the zoning on this property?
We'll take your questions under consideration. You can ask them.
You're not
Let's-
gonna answer it? You're just not gonna answer it?
Why don't you ask your questions? And then let us know when you're done.
Is there any other property in Mendon zoned the same as this property? And when was that property zoned the way it is? I'm done.
Is that it for public comment?
Is anyone else?
My next question would be, is this selective zoning?
So you're done?
Done. Done.
Okay.
Next question. If it is selective zoning, when was it zoned that way? I'm done with that question. And is there other property in Mendon?
Okay, I think if everyone is done making their public comment, so we'll close the public comment for this April 6th meeting. And we'll move right on to, some general discussion.
So I do want to make a few comments based on some of the things I heard during the public comment period, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, please.
All right.
Yes.
So I would note that this property was originally approved for, you may have done it, 90-ish homes, is that right?
It was originally
54?
53, then it was came in proposed to 98,
Okay.
and now it's back to 30, but it was originally approved for 53.
Right. So it's kind of seesaw all around, but this is the lowest, I think this is the lowest proposal we've seen for that lengthy period. So from the standpoint of the number of homes, it's less, it's as low as it's ever been proposed. Well, this development is proposed, as probably most people here know, there's been a lot of litigation involving this development. And the court upheld the zoning on this property. This zoning is, I believe, it's called PUD or PUD, Plan Development District. It's a, wouldn't say it's an uncommon zoning mechanism in the state, but it was litigated in court, and the court directed the town to stand behind this type of zoning, which is, again, is called a PUD or PED, depending on who you talk to. I'm not aware of whether that zoning mechanism is utilized anywhere else in the town. I do believe that that zoning mechanism has been discontinued going forward, but the court required that the town maintain it for this project since it was applied for under that zoning when it was in existence. So the court, and at this point, the town is, and not being the litigators for this case, I'm speaking sort of based on my own third-hand knowledge of things, but essentially the town has been directed by court order to process this application in some form or another, the way I understand it.
You are correct.
I did
What's that? Yeah.
I was just gonna say, it's my understanding that
Yeah.
Assembly Drive is
It's a PUD.
PUD.
Yeah.
And I did misspeak. It was formally approved for 54 lots in 2005, and 95 lots are not approved, but applied for, but it was approved for 54 lots in 2005 and applied for 95 lots in 2018. And today it's currently 30. Just to clarify.
All I have to say.
You got it? Any comments?
Probably comment on the rest of them. Robert?
Go ahead.
And board members.
Apparently, the town tried to walk away from this agreement, and the state says, you're not walking away. That's why we're here. There's no changes.
Can I ask another question? I'm gonna ask you this.
Go ahead, everyone else is.
Okay. When was that property, must have been, that property had to be zoned agricultural when the Silco was farmed?
Well, most land is.
Most of the land it is. When was it changed? When was it changed, the zoning changed so it would allow this PUD?
In 2005.
And it was changed by the zoning board?
No,
By
the
you,
town board.
town board. But just for that piece of property and Assembly Drive.
Assembly Drive was done prior to that.
That had been done earlier. So this zoning was specific to this parcel.
Well, that's what the PUD is,
To allow this
specific
type of
parcel of
development.
land.
Right, to allow this development, type of development, not this. Along it, but there's no other place in that. Other than Assembly Drive.
But the PUD was not, I don't believe was established only for this project. I believe it had been in existence long before,
But not in that.
invented
Yeah.
in the code. They came in at the application under that restriction of the PUD for 54 homes.
Thank you.
Those are the only two then that that applied for the PUD at that time, and so that's why there's only going to be 2.
I'm done.
Are you sure?
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
All right, and so our next upcoming meeting is going to be May 18th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything other than that? Would someone like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting? Oh, do you want to do that? Am I right on this first? Yeah, okay, we'll adjourn this meeting then, yes? You'll make a motion? Yep, and you'll second it. And I'm gonna say all in favor, any against, any of, no, we don't want to abstain, so. So thank you guys all very much for